Hey everyone, welcome back to another Godzilla battling video, and today, I would wager to say 99% of players are unlocking Megalon for the first time. He is available. Today's the third day of his, third day of his availability. It is the third day since he became available, so a lot of people, if you've been logging in for 3 days minimum, you have Megalon, you got him for free. Now, I am recording this video the day before Megalon goes live for everybody. I've had him since day one. He's been in my deck for 2 days straight. So I'm going to give you my evaluation on where I think Megalon sits, what I think about him, and where he stands in the current meta. So, Megalon, 3 cost, banger of a unit. I think they did a bang-up job with him. He's great. I love him. He definitely supplements some of the decks that I mentioned last season, which were low-cost decks that you could easily spam things onto the field. He is probably one of the best debuffers we have in the game, period. Does this make him an A unit, an S unit, S plus unit? I think that is going to end up depending on his stats on the higher end. He does have very, and I mean very, low health. Like, I'm pretty sure his health is lower than Kumo. Kumo doesn't have a lot of health. However, his attack range is the same as Kumo. His attack speed is like 2.7 seconds or something like that, 2.6, 7, or 8. It's in there somewhere. I think it's 2.7. And his ability is fantastic. I am running over people with him, not because he's doing a ton of damage, mind you. It's because of the amount of damage he prevents getting done to you. So Megalon has 2 debuffs. The main one, the most important one, is that on every attack, he hits with an explosive AoE, and anyone that is hit by that AoE gets a minus 10% attack debuff. The same debuff as GMK Godzilla. GMK on spawn takes minus 10% of the attack, and on death, he does minus 10% of the attack. Megalon, every time his regular attack makes contact, you are applying that debuff. You no longer have to wait for on death or on spawn. He is applying it every single hit that he does from the moment he drops. That's phenomenal. That's really great support, because a lot of people were using GMK to end pushes, right? Because like if he died and the other team, they were all weakened, you might get the advantage. Now with Megalon's range, you definitely are going to get that advantage. And he has Kumo range. So you put Kumo Augment and Megalon together, they're just going to be firing from the back lines. Kumo's going to stun him. Megalon's going to debuff him and hit him with the AoE. So you might be able to get a little bit of chip damage in there. His damage is not the highest. Okay? It really isn't. And his health isn't very high either. But the debuff is what we are using him for. We're not using him for his superior stats. Even his attack speed is like decent, but it's alright. It's the debuff. The debuff is really, really good. That's really all I gotta say about that. I mean, it's a phenomenal ability. Next is on spawn. He has a massive, and I mean massive. This is actually might be the biggest AoE in the game, and it's a non-damaging AoE. So when Megalon spawns in, what is it, for like 10 or 15 seconds it stays up, this big purple field gets put on the ground. Any enemy healing done in that circle gets immediately negated. Megalon puts a buff on them, on your enemies. It's like a heart with a slash through it. And that means that as long as they are in that purple field, they cannot be healed. Mothra Leader doesn't work. Fire Rodan Death doesn't work. Psychic Chorus doesn't work. What's his name? Terrestrius, Terrestrius's regeneration, Shin Godzilla's regeneration, not Shin Godzilla, what is the Kamada-kun regeneration? Doesn't work. If your enemy is within that AoE, their heals don't work. So not only can you negate heals in the final bits of the battle, because, when the leaders are like neck and neck, you can drop Megalon, and his AoE is going to reach the enemy leader, and you can prevent your enemy from healing their leader. And you can apply the damage, the damage down, which is insane. It's just, he's just a grab bag of really, really good debuffs. And he's the only character in the game that has a health prevention debuff. No other character does that. No character in this game can prevent heals. He prevents heals. The only other thing that you can even get close to preventing a heal would be sometimes when Psychic Chorus is placed, sometimes if you Fourth Angel or Burning Godzilla at like right when it comes down, it'll just remove it from play, but that's not the same as preventing heals in general. So that's what he does. How do I feel about him overall? He's also rentable, which is awesome. So mine, I have him at level 2. I got a piece of him yesterday, the day he dropped, and I got a piece of him today from my expedition, and I, like an idiot, didn't grab the logs, so fuck me. And then tomorrow, which is or today for you, it's the day the video goes live, I'll have the third piece for him. So I'll have him rentable at level 15. I have him or 14. I don't know. I have him rentable right now. And man, he is just helping me clean up house. Like, look at this Biolante spawned in. Oh, it didn't hit him there, but I mean, I'm using a deck that you can see on the screen. I've been using Gigan Lead. I recently switched back to G89, but with the deck that I'm using, I think Gigan Lead might end up being better. Gigan Lead, Destroy as my main damage dealer, a Fourth Angel and Leo just to run interference, and then I got Biolante, Gigan, Kumo, Megalon in there. Low cost units, I can just throw them out on the field and they can just do God's work. Kumo and Megalon, for a total of 6 energy, are locking down my enemies. Any Biolantes on London, as soon as they come into contact with Megalon, Biolante's buff is down. Megalon counters any enemy leader that does damage boosts. So forget about just how we talked about Mothra heal goes down. G89 damage boost, gone if Megalon hits the enemies, right? Biolante leader damage boost, gone if Megalon hits the enemies. Crazy. Anything that gives health and anything that gives a damage boost, he negates it. Should be worth noting, because I've had a few people ask me this, if GMK spawns in or dies and then Megalon attacks, does the debuff become minus 20%? No. The deal with the buffs in this game is if you have a buff of a similar type, it'll you know, one up each other. So if Biolante's in the water and she gets an 80% damage buff. But if Jet Jaguar, you know, my flying one right here, if he buffs her while she's in the water, it removes the 80% boost and it adds it puts the 25% boost. So it switches it from 80 to 25. It doesn't add it onto it. Same for the damage down. If Biolante has the 80% damage boost in water and Megalon hits her, she now loses that damage boost and she gets the minus 10% damage debuff. So if GMK hits his, that's minus 10%. And then if Megalon hits his, it's still minus 10%. It doesn't go to minus 20. I think he's a phenomenal unit. I know a lot of people think that because of his stats, he's probably a mid to high A tier character. At least in these few early days of testing, I think he's probably a low S. Purely based off his utility. He is 3 energy. He does 1 debuff that no other characters do, which is negates health. He is applying damage down on every single attack. His range is about the same as Kumo, maybe a tiny bit shorter. And he's just a crazy support unit. He's not your tank, he's not your main attacker. He's sitting in the back lines applying a debuff. It's so helpful. It is so helpful. Plus his little bunny hop is adorable. I haven't really needed to rely too heavily on his, what is it called? On his health negation too much. I'm not really letting a lot of people heal up near my leader. I have been able to negate a Fire Rodan here and there. I have been able to prevent the leader from healing at the end of the match. But the healing block isn't something in the beginning of the game that I'm really too worried about, because it's reaching about the midfield. But if the character, and that's depending on where you place him, and depending on where your opponent is playing, it's just, you might not be able to, prevent a heal in the first few minutes of the match. But late game, mid game, when it starts, your leaders start getting a lot closer and the field becomes a lot smaller, that anti-heal is going to be just phenomenal. So what do I think about Megalon? I think he's a rock solid unit. I think that you're going to see everyone using him as soon as they're available to pick him up this season and rent him out. I think out of the new units, he's definitely the star. I think he overshadows Godzilla 2000 immensely. He was a surprise unit who's a low cost and does a debuff that we've never seen before, and maybe has now become he's the most reliable way to get offense down. It used to be GMK because he was the only one. Now Megalon does defense down. I got a lot of praise for him. I'm really enjoying Megalon. I like him a lot. I'm using him in a deck that basically spams out low-cost characters. He's doing God's work out there. Maybe in the next coming seasons, he's going to see less play because he's going to be a lot weaker, and a lot of people aren't going to have him as high as they are now with the rented levels. But while you have him this season for free with the rented levels, I highly recommend giving him a spin. See if you want to invest in him in the future, because I really do think that Megalon is going to end up seeing a lot of play, especially in the end game. He might not be the most meta unit, but he is right next to Kumo for being maybe the best support unit that we have in the game. That's what I gotta say. That's my piece. I've spoken it. On Megalon, I like him a lot. I think he is a fantastic unit, and I am excited to see more crazy units with kits like his. Let me know if you've unlocked Megalon today. I wager most of you have. And let me know what your thoughts are on him. And if you've had him since day 1 or the day 2, whatever, let me know how you've been feeling on him. I like him a lot. I probably will rank him either high A or low S this season. And that's just me. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.